Renee.
Recording.
I have 5 o'clock. Let's kick this thing off. Welcome everybody to 7 days later than usual, the November installment of the monthly Zone 33 ICA call. I'm glad to see everybody is here. We would like to recognize at least one dignitary in the room, our illustrious RI Director, Patrick Eakes.
Howdy, howdy.
Glad to see you're able to make it. I know what your schedule's like right now. I appreciate you being here. As more people come in, I'll continue to recognize those that should be appropriately. In the meantime, remember that you're always free to view the recordings of these past discussions. The links are shared with you in the recap emails, but now, as you will recall, Rotary Zones 33, 34 TV has its own YouTube channel. We've got our own playlist, and all the monthly recordings can be found there. So for today, without going into great detail, it's pretty simple to recap what we discussed last month. As always, it generally continued our continual discussion of what we and the clubs are doing to promote the initiative of innovative growth. And not just clubs, but all other aspects of finding ways to be innovative. We've been recognizing we're at then last month at the quarterway point through the new Rotary year. We shared what we as district ICAs were doing and experiencing, whether that was hearing from clubs or if we were reaching out to them, just offering general assistance as is necessary, especially this time of year. Then we kind of chatted among the group, and you will remember we had 2 specific success stories. We had Margie Christopher from Rotary Club of Shelby in North Carolina and Kiana Trelongo from the Rotary Club of Pittsburgh. They shared with us how they've gotten started, who on each side of the equation was involved, who they'd reached out to, all the way from conception to inception, the time span. And you'll remember that those 2 stories were very different. Some took a while, some jumped right in, and it developed pretty quickly. The point was that both of them stayed focused. They didn't become discouraged along the way. They were met with obstacles. They discussed and strategized how to overcome those. And then we teased this new discussion that we're starting to have about creating a new forward-facing all-call event toward the holidays. And Patrick Ongano is on the call tonight, so we might just hear more about that as we move along. But since then, we've had another monthly opportunity to report our district's activity level in creating new clubs. And if you read my P-mail, and I know who did and who didn't, unfortunately, the data that we collected was largely incomplete. So tonight, what we're going to try to do is talk a little bit about where we are and review the numbers that are currently occurring in the zone. Now, you've all heard Stephanie speak. You know what her expectation is of all of us this year. She wants to see each district create 4 new clubs. That doesn't mean a Rotary club necessarily. That doesn't mean a traditional club. That could be any kind of club, including Rotary clubs. She wants to see each district grow 100 plus net by the end of this Rotary year. Now, I want to share something on the screen with you, and I'm sorry if this is a little doom and gloom oriented, but nevertheless.
Hey, Sean, talk about doom and gloom. Can you let Jones in? He said he's waiting.
Yeah. For some reason, I don't know that I have. There we go.
There we go. Thank you, my friend. Sorry to interrupt.
No, not at all. We're having a little bit of a blip up here. The weather's not cooperating. So here's what I want to show. Everybody give me a thumbs up. Can you see that screen? Is it there? All right, cool. Now we're a third of the way into the Rotary year with only 1 month's turn of the calendar. And some of you may have already seen these numbers, but I'm betting most of you have not. And they've been shared from various sources. Zones 33 and 34 are still number 1 and number 2 in North America in terms of membership. However, as this chart shows, both zones are behind the success track that leads to a modest 0.5% growth over the course of the year. So we're stealing a little bit of Terry Weaver's thunder here as well. There are hundreds of clubs among the zone pair that still have not inducted a single member this year. And in Zone 33 alone, that number is over 300 clubs. We're only a few, and the problem is we're only a few weeks away from that predictable December plunge. Now, I'm going to get out of this for a minute And instead of being the doom and gloom, I'm going to hand it over to Patrick Longana, because we're not sharing this information to overwhelm you. It is absolutely designed to encourage you all to see the opportunity for us to help with the growth process. So before we get into our usual facilitated discussion about our game plan and how we're going to combat the lull that we know is looming over us, I'm going to ask Patrick to briefly share with us the number of new clubs that have been created in our zones thus far this year. Patrick, I'll put you back up on the screen.
Actually, Sean, will you mind doing me a favor? Could you put up the sheet again that we're supposed to fill out by the 20th of each month?
I can.
Everybody on here except for me loves Sean Sawyer.
You threw me
Extremely
a
love Sean
curve.
Sawyer.
You threw me a curve, man. Hang on just a second.
No problem. So Sean's gonna put this the ICA sheet up. I've been doing that ICA sheet for like ever. I think Chris Jones and Patrick Geek started that sheet, and it's been, everybody's added something to it. For some people that are doing it the first time, it can seem a little daunting. But Mike and Renee and Ken and I would be more than happy to help you with it. It's very, very imperative to get that in, but it's also very imperative not to just kind of check the box. Now I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, and Sean's probably, if I was sitting with him, he'd probably kick me under the table. But when I'm taking a look at numbers and how I have to prepare, I know that Sean has to go to Patrick and give him a report every single month, and that Patrick has to go to the board meetings up at Rotary and give them a report every single month. And if the numbers ain't there, we look, we'd rather the numbers be down and be accurate than to be, pie in the sky and not accurate. I'm speaking for myself. And when I go ahead and take over, if you go all the way to the right-hand side, where it says the total new clubs that started this year was a total of 6. That's down there. You were just on it. Apologize. You had it pulled up just a little bit ago, and it said, "Yeah." So established, the ones in the green, established since July 1st. There's 6. Okay, down there. With how many net new members? Total clubs, that's the goals in progress, status, if they're in formation or not, and then established. It says that we have 6 in zone 33. All right, Sean, get out of there, and I'm going to go ahead and share mine real quick. This is through October 17th, so I haven't gotten this month's report yet. I'm sure Jose is working on it for me and Patrick because he's cool, wearing a cool hat today. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, because now this is, you guys get the benefit of seeing this, because we begged for this for a long, long time to get these numbers. Those of you who haven't seen it, it comes in like this, and then anybody who knows me knows Karen, and she's like the best spreadsheet person you ever saw in your life. So she did a pivot table out here, and this is summer since 2014, summer since 2015, but going all the way back. This column is the number of active clubs, satellite companion clubs in North America. Okay, and there's zones that are contributed with it. All right, and we're just killing it. So like in zone 25, 73 total clubs that are still active. So they might have started 120, but there's only 73 active as of right now, for a total of 288 members. Now, I tell you that because to tell you 2 things. Zone 33, right here, zone 33, we have 82 current clubs for a total of 577 members. And zone 34, which is our paired zone there, has 62 active satellite companion clubs for a total of 308 members.
Hey, boo.
Yep. It's just kind of crazy. But what I do want to show you is this. In 2024, so far, from July 1st through October 7th, I think it was, Jose, when you pulled that report, 34 already had 10, and we already had 14. So that we should be patted. We had 18 the total of 2023, so we should be patting ourselves on the back. But guess what? That report that Sean just threw up there shows that we only had 6. That should at least match this, guys. I mean, we should really have it on here because, Patrick, our director, Patrick and Sean don't have the opportunity or the need to go through all of this and, and do these kind of pivot tables and stuff. This should match, guys. It really does. And we should be there. Now, I do want, now I showed you that because I wanted to make sure that you understood If we've got 14 showing at Rotary and we've only got 6 total standalone clubs, companion clubs, and everything showing on that sheet, this right here is just satellite companions. This doesn't include the standalone clubs unless I go over here and take a look at Rotaract report and the standalone club reports, which we also have the numbers for there. So please make sure that those numbers are right. So the information flows up to Sean and Patrick, and they don't have to give us a call. If you have any problems at all, Ken and Mike Walker and Renee and I'd be more than happy to help you. But those numbers are due by the 20th, so please get those in. I do want to show you and tell you one thing. It used to be before when I went into club, some clubs would say, hey, how am I doing? Or what's the first thing you can tell me? Where should I start, recruiting? And you take a look at their numbers and they've got, 15% female in their club. Well, that's the first place. It's a glaring thing. You talk to them about it right then and there. But this form that I'm showing you right here, there's 415 satellite or companions in North America. All of North America. It's crazy. This is the glaring thing that's there. And I want to tell you and show you something. Right now we're at 14. This district up here, this zone up here, who hasn't been doing very good in the history of it, they're at 13. They've got more satellite companions started this year than zone 34. You know what I mean? So we really have to keep pushing this. If we want to be the home of innovation and number one there, this is the number one way you can grow. Doesn't have to be an impact club. It can be a satellite or companion club. It could be anything. We're all club creators here. So that's what we want to do. If anybody needs any help, that's the reason why me, Mike, Ken, Al, and Renee are here. And Sean leading the charge, and then Patrick leading the way from there, and Chris Jones, who's on the call too. We're here to help any kind of club creation. But please double check that report. Please, let's get 100% on that report by the 20th of this month. If you need help doing it, just let us know. Sean, that good, buddy? Any questions on that?
That's great. And I'll point something out. Normally when we have this call, you've got a little more than 2 weeks to get your numbers in timely, as
Yep.
Patrick would like to see them. Because we postponed this month's call by a week, that's 1 week less before the reporting deadline. So it's actually, the 20th is a week from tomorrow, not 2 weeks like you normally would see.
Mm-hmm.
So there you have the down and dirty about everything, the bad, but also the good. And most importantly, where we've got room to improve. So now I'd like to have us all participate in some meaningful discussion about how we're going to dig in and make this happen. And I realize that's a big question with an awful blank slate. Might sound a little overwhelming, but what I want us to focus on is what we all plan to do or think we can do to create improvement in where we are in each of our own respective districts. And if that's too big of a question, let me try to narrow it down a little bit just to get some discussion started. Anybody have an example of recent conversations that you've been having with the people in your district or with its leadership to assist you with efforts in ICA or the creation of innovative clubs? I know we've had a lot of foundation events. Anybody talking about membership at any of those? Great opportunity.
Now, guys, I told Kiana, who's here from Pittsburgh, that this is a very lively group. So jump in and kind of hit me up, on this stuff. Tracy, what are you seeing? I know you guys just did Companion Club there in 7600. We're just gonna help you with the paperwork. So I know you got something cooking. I know you got a lot of things cooking up there in 7600. Tell me about it.
Yeah, that's one of the things. We have a lot of things cooking, but it's the matter of the one that we did have in Petersburg. They decided rather than put it to another companion club, they are just adding those members to their club under a separate tab because they essentially just made them all kind of like honorary as an impact, but they don't want to add them as an actual club. So I'm trying to have a conversation with them as just why not go ahead and add them as a separate club. They all are. You want to have them all as honorary members as now just to get it done. It's some advice on how to get over that hump. And then majority of it is I've got probably, I don't know, between me and Rich up here, we've got a lot of clubs that are showing interest in it, and a lot of them have started having like preliminary meetings. Now we're trying to get them all set up with Discover Rotary so they can get enough members at it to go to it, because I realize that the clubs may want to do it, but it's finding those champions within the club to get people to join, to come to the companion club. Because they're still doing the whole, everyone bring one, that junk don't work.
Yeah. Well,
So that's why I
you
like some
keep kicking
advice
it.
on how you get over that hump to where I go to the club, try to tell them, hey, listen, a lot of them, I guess what it is a lot of them are getting like paralysis by analysis, just overthinking it to death, rather than I tell them, we're not people of thinking, we're people of action. Just pull the trigger and go.
I love that, Chase. That's good. I'm just my personal opinion. That's the reason why I do the steps, whatever I do, whether it's for a empowering girls club, whether it's for a companion club, whether it's for an impact club. I do those steps because they try to fall off the path. You start here with the idea and you finish here when you do the paperwork and do your inductions, and they try to tip off the path, multiple times during that. And you just got to kind of like knock them back on the path and nudge them down. So follow up is key. I mean, is absolutely key. Renee, what do you think? Or Mike, jump in here. What's some good advice to keep people on that path? What do you do?
Well, I think people want to be on the path more than they did a few years ago. I think there's some momentum, and there's a general buzz and conversation that this is kind of what people are doing, and I think people are more open than they were, and they're seeing it's not cannibalizing. There's enough examples of people that we know of that we can connect them with that have done something similar, and that's maybe something we can do going forward is collect those people that have the clubs that have started that, and that we can connect people. David Super on the call, and I had a good conversation, and I'm going to try to connect him with a couple of people that have done impact clubs in our district that he's got a potential club, but it might be more useful for him to talk to the people that actually did it than to talk to me, and so I think the more we can talk to other people around the zone and realize that we're all willing to help each other.
I think that's great. That's a great call. Marge, I know Marge is waving her hand up there. I'm sorry, way up in the corner. I didn't see her. Sorry. Marge, what you got?
You're on mute, Marge.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to get off mute. Sorry.
Sorry.
Actually, this is an update since we talked to you this morning, Mike. 7710 is clicking along, and we've had 5 in play that look are really serious. And one of those today already turned in an application for a standalone club for 20 members. So that now we're just waiting for RI's approval for that. So that we're very excited about that.
Well, I think if you extrapolate that, you'll have like 150 clubs by the end of the year if you made that much progress since this morning.
No. but then besides that one, which I mean, I was truly thrilled to get that information today. And then also we have 4 others that are in play that are really serious. One impact club, looks like another standalone club, a new Rotary club, and at least one new Interact club. So we're feeling pretty good at the moment. And none of them are cannibalizing off any club at all.
What do you think accounts for that increase in momentum?
I don't know. Well, let me say something about the standalone one today that went in. The woman who has been the driver behind that was so impressed by Sean's presentation at our summit last summer that it was a real eye-opener for her, and she went right back and started working on it. So she didn't need anything more than Sean's presentation. Yeah. So he gets a feather in his cap for that one for sure.
Sean's the key.
Yeah, he was key for this.
I love it.
And then one of the ones that's another standalone that's actually being started by 2 past district governors, and that looks like it's pretty promising. The Impact Club looks like it's going to be a go. Looks like the Rotary Club is going to be a go, and it looks like the Interact Club is a real possibility too. But we're still working on others. But we're feeling pretty good today.
Is there a real energy and excitement with all these?
Huh?
Is there a lot of energy and excitement with all these?
Well, this news just came out this afternoon.
Well, but I mean, in general, people, it's a sense of excitement.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
Well, I have a
it-
question on top of that, Marge. How would you, or how would anyone on this call advise that you could capitalize on this momentum right now? What do you think could happen next that would be able to use this, as everyone's saying, there's got to be some excitement building. How can you turn that into even more and maybe elsewhere, like districts around you?
Well, that's a good question. I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't gotten that far ahead. I mean, one of the things that, I don't know, it's different things that have, there's no one thing that has started the momentum. It's really been different people for every initiative. And Camille Hedrick, she's not on, otherwise I wouldn't have still, taken her thunder, but she's not on the call.
She actually
Yeah,
is there,
she
Mark.
is
She's
now.
down there.
Did she come in now?
Yep, she's here.
Oh, I'm looking for it. Well, Camille, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Because I was looking for it.
There
Oh,
she
there
is.
she is now. So, and I was gonna say, and Camille's been doing, I'm gonna keep blabbing then. Camille's done a good job of working with clubs and getting clubs excited about it. So I don't think there's any one thing that's out there, but we'll certainly think about it.
I'm going
That
to
would-
just
that
say,
would
is
be
having a
great.
champion would seem like a common element, and I'll leave it at that. Mark, you had your hand up.
I do, and I won't go on my diatribe about not using the word cannibalism because it seems like y'all are going to use it anyway. So, but one thing that has come up over the last month or so in our district that is something we're going to really start exploring is towns that have had clubs before that were successful that went away, and now we're starting to see that there might be some energy, such as Archdale, North Carolina, which is just south of High Point. I went to the Asheboro Club today with our DG with Ron. And one of the ladies was like, we can start a club there tomorrow, a new club. She thinks she can get 15 to 20 people ready to go. Randleman is also another town. I mean, I'm not going to go through the towns, but we're starting to see some energy of towns that had clubs before maybe come back. And I think that's a great way because that's a built-in referral source.
Mark, if I could piggyback on that, and thank you for reminding me to do this. Jose Gonzalez, if I could pick on you for just a minute, I think what I heard Mark say in his own vernacular is the value of a very underutilized tool, and that's Grow Rotary. Do you care to add a little bit of sunshine as to the value of that and how it might play into what Mark's describing?
Yes, I think Mark and everyone else here, growrotary.org is a website that offers a tool for you all to be able to see the demographics and the earnings of individuals that live within the given spaces that you support. So Mark, if you knew that there was a club at one point in the space, and we can always run those termination reports to help you determine that, Grow Rotary will allow you to see what areas currently don't have a Rotary Club, and you can then utilize that to help determine maybe it might be time to start one there. That way, if people have that idea of cannibalizing, you're picking spots that are at least a little bit further away. Everyone that has a My Rotary account has access to this, including our Rotarians and clubs. You don't have to be at a district level. Everyone has access. So, but we do recommend try to keep it at that district level so not everyone's hopping in there. It gives you insight also on the general demographics or the makeup of the people that live in those spaces. So that way you're creating clubs for people that are underrepresented. The same way that Patrick mentioned that if there's not enough ladies or females in the group, well, that's an easy way to determine that it's time to grow that demographic.
I just got in there. So
And,
there you
and
go,
one
Mark.
one of the things too on that, I think that is such a great idea, and I've heard that so much. A lot of these clubs, what I've seen a lot of these people saying is when they get down to 9 or 8 in a certain area, they're just like, look, we don't want to do the administration anymore. We don't want to be president for the 16th time. Well, we don't want to ever give up a charter, but if they've already given it up and you can go back in there as a club and say, look, we want you in that area and you can be a companion club to our club. We'll take care of the administration and you guys do good in the community as you're there and you just be an extension of our club. We've done that twice this year. I know Dan Doherty and Al did the one up in Pennsylvania, and it was just, they saved every Rotarian that they were going to lose. So if you see that, or if they're already gone, that's a real good way to go in there and get them as a, if they broke up because they didn't want to do the administrative work and all that other stuff, there's still another way that you can get that club back in there. So just keep all options open if you're talking to them. But Mark, that's a great focus area that I've just heard more and more and more about over the last 3 months.
And real quick, I do want to add, Director Eeks, please excuse me for stepping in front of you. But if you find that when you're logging in, it does not allow you to log in, try a different web browser. I have found that sometimes Chrome crashes a little bit, but if you're on Microsoft Edge or even Mozilla Firefox, you'll often find that those tend to work a little bit better. So thank you, y'all.
Director Eeks, I see your hand raised, sir.
All right. First off, my name's Patrick. You know that.
Mm.
Jose, I know that the Grow Rotary tool is essentially an overlay of census data and Rotary membership data. Is that originally we were using 2010 census data? Is that updated periodically with new census data as it becomes available?
The last information I received about it, it is annually, but I can find out when was the most recent to give a more firm answer to that. So
yeah, I mean, we're not going to see radical shifts year to year, but it's good to know that it's being kept up to date. I had an opportunity to see it really on kind of a beta test, and I thought it was going to absolutely change the landscape of what we're doing in membership, because it graphically shows you here's where the people are, here's where the clubs aren't. And I know that some of our districts have used that very effectively, particularly 7750. So I encourage all of you to take a look at growrotary.org. As Jose said, you can log in with your regular credentials and you can play away with it.
Patrick?
And just to piggyback on that, I'm just on here tooling around a little bit, and Jose, it's very intuitive. It's easy to work. It's this is great. So thank you for this. We'll definitely use this.
thank you, Sean, for bringing it up.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Mark, for jogging my memory to do that. Marge, you had your hand up, and then maybe you chickened out a bit?
Renee got me off guard. I think it was Renee that was asking the questions about getting the enthusiasm up. One of the things that I also wanted to mention was that in September, we had a district training assembly session, and Camille gave a great session on that. And I think her enthusiasm and energy for that really got other people energized too. So I think that brought a lot of the excitement in there. So I just wanted to follow up on her comment.
You make a good point. I wanted to remind everybody that it's not just the ICA or the people with membership on their name tags,
Right.
that are responsible for growing Rotary, right? I mean, we invite over 100 people to these calls every month, and it's not just the ICAs. So I'm encouraged by the DGE from 7690 chiming in. I'm excited to see the people with DMC after their name being part of this conversation, because it really is going to take all of us to do that. So with that said, let me refer back to one of the things that Terry Weaver has been talking about lately on the monthly DMC calls. The big push at this time last year, maybe a little beyond that, was the tool of choice was Discover Rotary. And it's not that it's fallen out of favor, but if you attend those calls as well, you can see that the DMC call push is now focused on this club support team aspect of it, which by definition can't be just your ICA from your district, or unless it's a team of one, of course. So do any of you have any experience in your districts thus far with that club support team starting to tackle some of these ICA oriented issues? What's going on in your districts about reaching out to the clubs? Anybody have an example of that recently? Do I ask hard questions? Why do I get crickets every time I ask?
As a DMC, I can say what we planned, what we're thinking about doing. Yeah, I figure that's a start.
Yeah, Mike, that'd be great. But then Herman, if you can go to Herman.
Go ahead, Herman.
Yeah, we just launched that program about 3 weeks ago, and I got a report last week. I just asked what was going on. They have met, they've identified, I think, 12 clubs in our district at 7770. And they've made contact with them. But as far as seeing any return yet, we haven't seen any of that other than that they are working and they have made contact. So I look for some positive things to come from that.
Yep. Great point, Herman. I don't know if everybody saw it in the chat. Tracy Lego made a good point. If you make your club irresistible, you don't have to worry about anyone cannibalizing your club. Show of hands, how many people were on the map call yesterday? Do you remember what we were talking about on there about making clubs irresistible and the different elements that are involved in that?
Well, the onboarding. Making new members feeling welcome.
That's certainly geared towards helping you with the retention issues, I would say, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but you got to get them first.
That's right. Well, as if I'm a student of the numbers, and I think that I am, I don't know that we have a getting problem sometimes as often as we have a keeping problem. So how does that kind of play into the equation necessarily? And I just saw Joe Roth come into the call. I'm sure he didn't come just to watch. Joe, feel free to be vocal any chance you get.
Well, we've got, just to give you, because Jose, spot on, Jose, sent over that report. Just to give you a quick number, update to the number that I gave you. In October and so far in November, in all of North America, there's only been 5 companion satellites formed in a month and a half in November. October and up to November 7th was the last one, but it's as of today. That's absolutely crazy. Guys, we can do this. So Tracy saying sometimes they fall off the path and all this other stuff. I'm telling you, if you have somebody that's excited about doing something like this and you need some help, just grab Renee. Renee knows how to take somebody from start to finish. You guys do too, or maybe some of you don't know how to get from start to finish. It doesn't matter. You will by the time you go through it with one of us. So grab Mike and say, how do we go from here to here with this club? Just get us in front of him. Mike, if somebody said that they wanted you to talk to one of their clubs, would you jump right on that call and go? Renee, what about you? Ken, you're in? Yeah, Al, we're all there. Heck, we'll even grab Sean and he'll do a little bit of that magic. You know what I mean? Some of the sprinkle that little magic dust on there. We'll get them going. So just if you've got somebody that's interested, we can really push this out and go down the path with them because it's not too late.
Mark, I see your hand up again. You got some more.
Yeah, I just had sort of a question. And Patrick Longano, you might be able to help me on this. From a standpoint of satellite clubs, I mean, I started one, a golfing, whatever you call it, calls-based club. And it's going pretty well. It's still well, but I'm sort of, one of my AGs came to us and told us, she was like, it seems like it's just easier to just start an alternate meeting time instead of going through the whole process of a satellite club. I mean, you'd have to change your bylaws a bit for the dues and restructure those, but you don't have to have 8. You could have 5 or 6 people go there. I'm just struggling a little bit on the why are we even doing satellite. I feel like we're making it complicated sometimes instead of just having alternate meeting times from really strong clubs. As Patrick Geeks and I have talked about that, you want to make sure somebody who's a really good club is doing it. It's not somebody that's so. I'm struggling with that a little bit.
Can I address that just real quick? I know Patrick, you probably have a really good answer, but when I first joined Rotary, my club was a sunrise sunset club. Some people could make it in the morning, some in the evening. So 2 meetings. What I will tell you that I found was the biggest problem with that was identifying people who would step up and take leadership when it came time for various this, that, or the others, because there were very different people that went to the different meetings and they had a different idea about how they wanted things to happen. And ultimately that was detrimental to the club. If we had had a satellite model with leadership in place, I believe our experience would have been different. Around the same time we were experiencing this, a club south of us was creating a satellite and we all went, But then COVID happened and, you know, kind of
Yeah.
everything, but anyway, now Patrick or whoever else has a.
Let me just respond to that, Renee. I mean, we have those same issues in satellite clubs. Anybody that's been around one knows you have the same issue of getting leadership involved in that too. So, I mean, that's an issue.
Well, I mean, I think it's more identifying because if you have a satellite, you have a chair and you potentially have like a volunteer person who's coordinating at least the meetings or something. But if you have two different meetings, it's the same leaders trying to basically functioning over almost two clubs because the people, you know, that go to the two different meetings are so vastly different. But that's just my personal experience. I don't have any data to back that up. But I would be curious to see if anybody else has experienced anything like that or what the, you know, opinion is on why or why not. That was just my little nugget.
And Mark, to answer that, and I appreciate you bringing that experience there. When I meet with people, because I do this a lot on there, when I meet with people, if they would be a better membership type, I help them with the membership type. If it would be better an alternative time period, I help them with that. I don't push companions, don't necessarily. We just did a standalone club, you know, so it all depends on the club. If you've got a club there that's like and they're not doing well and everything like that, they're going to be treated differently than it would be, or you know, worked with differently than a club that's a star club. It would have been 10 times easier for me just to do what Rich Salon it does, you know, and as an expert on his membership type, it would absolutely been so much easier. And for my last 5 years of my life would have been 10 times easier. But I think we've probably got more companion clubs in zone 33, 34, the active companion clubs than we do people with, you know, a service membership type. So because of the fact that the infighting sometimes in the club goes, well, I have to pay this, how come they don't? So it all depends, but that's the thing that you in exploratory phase in step 1 and step 2, as you're walking the people down the steps to creating the club, that you discuss with them. Whatever's best for them, that's what we're going to help them with.
Yep.
Yep. I know Chris Justice had his hand up.
Yep. I was hoping I'd see his hand up because I know he's got that kind of a situation going on in this district right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just important to note that, you know, there's not necessarily a right or wrong answer, you know, with this particular topic. You know, I think in any organization, you know, we want the script, right? We want the blueprint. You know, the first step in helping any club form, you know, another club or expand their membership or whatever is to talk to them and figure out what their needs are. And, you know, that's, I mean, Longano didn't say that as specifically as I just said it, but that's exactly what Patrick was saying was, you know, you've got to dig in and figure out what exactly the club needs. And there's going to be, you know, a different answer, you know, depending on the scenario. So, you know, Mark, what I would say to you is that, yeah, sure, there are absolutely sometimes that, you know, a different membership type is going to be the right answer. But there's also going to be times that, you know, the companion club's the right answer. And that's where we can help, you know, in terms of district and zone resources is to help, you know, get to the bottom of that.
Whatever they dream up, you can do. That's the key. But just keep that in mind. Whatever they want their club to look like, you can help them do it.
My only addition to that is to say, Mark, that I had almost the identical conversation today with a club that I met with their membership committee, one of the largest clubs in my district, and they were very open to that, having an alternate meeting time, maybe having an alternate membership type to accommodate that, maybe slightly lower dues, you know, obviously no meals, but, you know, you start with whatever you start with is not what you end up with. And if they have 5 people that want to meet alternately, have those 5 people invite 5 people, you know, and at some point they will want to do things on their own, and a more formal club structure may accommodate what they want to do down the road. It may not be necessary initially, but it may be necessary down the road.
Good point, Michael. Hugh Dawkins, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think leadership is where the strength of each club comes from, and how they will not only grow internally, but through companions or even types of membership. And I think that that part of what we need to also be doing is working with the club to have continuity of leadership and strong leadership, so that if they do a companion club or satellite club, it's going to be strong. We've got clubs in zone or in District 7620 that have 3 different meeting times, but they structured it, they did leadership so that those 3 pieces work together on projects, work together on having some of the same programs, but it's because all 3 of those, the chairs, I'll call them chairs of all 3 pieces, come together at the club board meetings and communicate and build the strength of what they're doing.
Good point, Hugh.
Absolutely. Mark, you got your hand up again.
Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to be bogarting the conversation here, but you asked for us to talk, so I'll talk.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hugh, you're exactly. I mean, of course, it's everything's about people. That's all. That's that's all it is. But one thing, I guess what's spurring this on for me is I'm traveling our district right now with Ron as DGE, and I've gone to almost every club, and we're literally losing members because of meal cost. Because people don't ever come, and they're like, why do I want to stay in there? But they could be a great service member and not have to pay the meal, or they could be a great beer drinker like myself and go to the afternoon meeting instead of the 7:30 meeting. So I don't know, and I guess this is the right group to be talking about this too. And I'm sorry if I'm saying things out of order, but I'm just seeing that, and I'm like, okay, I get it. So you don't really want to pay in Mount Airy $28 for your lunch that you go to once a month. That makes perfect sense to me. In fact, I don't think it fits the 4-way test, but it's a great fundraiser for Mount Airy, but they're losing members. They're not losing members because they're growing, but some clubs are losing members because of that.
Let me just say, as someone who travels for Rotary a lot and rarely makes it to his own club, I don't appreciate paying $130, $195 a quarter when I eat lunch about twice. Well, Rule 85 in February, baby.
There you go.
Patrick, can I ask you a question? And in your travels since COVID, I saw this in my district. Do you think there are fewer clubs now that have mandatory meals built in where you're paying for your meal, or do you think it's going away?
I think there are fewer clubs. I think a lot of clubs have wised up. At the very least, they're breaking it out, or they're charging on a per consumption basis. But psychologically, it is so important. Chris put it in the chat. It is so important for people to understand that it doesn't cost that much to be a Rotarian each year. Food is freaking expensive.
Yeah.
Here.
It's not expensive. But you hear people say all the time, oh, it costs $1,000 a year to be in Rotary, or $1,200 a year to be in Rotary. It's just not true. And even psychologically, if we can help people understand it doesn't cost that much to be in Rotary, and I'm eating lunch, or I'm eating breakfast, or I'm eating dinner, I'm paying at the door, or I'm in whatever way they can understand this is a meal I would have paid for anyway. It's not part of my Rotary budget. It will help us in membership.
Patrick, in our district several years ago, I started pushing clubs to take the meals out, and they have strengthened because they've done that. That you pay as you walk in the door, or you come and you don't have the meal and you attend. J-Lo has done that with her club over in Florida too. I mean, it's another way of strengthening our clubs.
And it meets the 4-way test.
Amen.
There's a message in the chat. You got to be creative, because there's truth in what it says, that there's a lot of venues where we hold our meetings that require that minimum, or they're not going to let you have your meeting there. So Patrick, would you agree you have to explore that sweet spot while also trying to meet that 4-way test?
Sure.
I'd like to pipe in on that one, if you don't mind, Sean.
Sure, Chris. Go ahead.
I've been in clubs where we went to explore alternate venues because of this very issue. And in many cases, two or three, and I want to emphasize two or three members of the club thwarted that issue because of a relationship they had with the venue, right? And, I really do think we as Rotarians, as leaders, need to take that into consideration and provide leadership to the clubs and help them understand that member dues, when you're involving meals, is not a fundraising opportunity. It is not a budget enhancing opportunity. And to Patrick Eek's point, being fair to all concerned, charging for meals based on consumption is the right thing to do. And it all comes down to what is the right thing to do. And I'll get off my soapbox.
No,
Thank you.
I think you're absolutely right.
Just
Rich Salon, one size fits one, right?
So one size fits one. In this case, it's about the Western Henrico Club here in Central Virginia. They meet twice a week. Their dues are $175 per year for an active member. They order off the menu. They can get a cup of coffee and some biscuits for $5. The most they can spend is $20. My HR math tells me, wow, the average person showing up every single week is probably going to spend about $410 for the year on their Rotary experience. So if they can do it, why can't others?
And I think we have a public image issue. I'm sorry, Tracy, I know you have your hand up, but I think we have a public image issue to reconcile here as well, because this perception that Rotary is expensive gets exploited because of the way that we charge for meals. Being a member of Rotary is not expensive. You can be in Rotary for $20 a month. That'll cover your district dues. It'll cover your RI dues. And in some cases, it'll even cover, depending on what your district dues and club operational dues are, it may even cover your donation to the Rotary Foundation on a quarterly basis. $20 a month. Now, I got to tell you, that's not expensive. And so we have an obligation from a PR or PI perspective to get out into the world and say, no, Rotary's not expensive. You can join our organization, serve your community, feel great about it, leverage foundation grants for a mere $20 a month. Okay, I'm getting off my soapbox. I'm sorry.
Nope, you're right on. Tracy, you got your hand up.
Yeah, just to reiterate one fact of that, we had same issue in Smithville, my home club. That's why we started a companion club, and the traditional club was like, nope, we have to pay for our meals whether we're there or not. We're there or not. That's how they used it as a fundraiser. That's why we had to start a companion club, because if not, the Smithfield Rotary Club would not be in existence right now. And we did. But here's what happens: the companion club starts growing and growing like crazy. And the traditional guys go, well, why are they growing so much? And my responses to them is because we're cheap and you're expensive and the food sucks. Nobody's going to pay for that. So they decided that, well, wait a minute. They changed it now to where they don't charge for meals anymore either. And they started to grow as well. And as far as the venue goes, I would challenge it is that, if a venue is going to force you to have to pay X amount of dollars to have their venue, look at other venues, because we had a similar concern with that with the companion. Even though we don't charge for meals to use their space, they wanted us to pay for such amount of meals. We talked to other venues in town and found another one that was like, no, you mean you're going to bring 30 to 40 people in here twice a month for an hour? Absolutely, you can have the space, because they know it's gonna help promote their business as well. It has to follow the four-way test. It's a beneficial to all concerned. You can benefit the place that the venue is as well as benefiting your club.
That's right.
Awesome sauce.
Well, we've got just a few minutes left, but there's one issue that I want to make sure that we get out, even if we don't talk about it very long. And that's a reminder that as a group, we have a tendency to take our foot off the gas during the holidays. But I want to suggest to everybody that the holidays is arguably when you're around some of the most people or those people that you don't see other times other than during the holidays. Does anybody want to buck the statistics and share an idea about what kind of examples they have to use the holidays as an opportunity to grow instead of pump the brakes until the new year comes?
Speak, Chris Justice.
Yeah. So when I was district governor, because I knew that, the statistics in December and June were abysmal. I had two targeted periods, one being November and December and one being May and June. And the messaging was win December and win June. And I knew that the only way to achieve net growth for the district was to do that, was to win December and to win June. And I went direct to the presidents with that messaging, and it was a constant drumbeat of, it was upbeat. It was more motivational, not the, oh, we're doing terrible, but it was the, messaging of this is where we are. And then there were, the offerings of, okay, this is how we can actually work to grow membership during these periods. And exactly what you guys were, just alluding to. I mean, we can bring guests to the holiday parties. The service projects during the holidays are so impactful. If you ask me, what my consistent favorite Rotary moment is, it's ringing the bell for the Salvation Army. I mean, that's something that my entire family does. And we can bring other people into those experiences. I mean, you don't have to be a Rotary member to sign up for bell ringing. I mean, the club I'm in now actually doesn't do bell ringing. And I switched. I am still on the distribution list for my last club. And I ring the bell for them because I enjoy it, so much. And, others will do that. I found June to be a little more challenging because there wasn't such a natural segue into like events and, volunteer opportunities that you could do. But I was still able to highlight the fellowship of it, the transition period, the leadership opportunities, all of those different things that, will bring people into Rotary. But I think November and December are absolutely critical, and it's leveraging those fellowship and service opportunities. And if you do that and you stay in front of your club presidents on a regular basis, it works. I can tell you from experience, it works. I've seen it work with, other leaders highlighting, those same things too.
Chris, thank you for that. Patrick, you want to bring us home? We've got
Yeah, it was just
a few
the
minutes
last
left.
thing. I agree with Chris, and I agree with some of the comments that Patrick Geeks put it in the thing. I lean into it a little bit more. When I'm talking with the president, anybody that I'm talking to right now or at the beginning of December, I'm like, right now, if you want to be successful, at that end of your year, and you want to be on that plus side, you have to prepare right now and either finish in December, or you have to be in the first week of January, or you're going to lose momentum on this deal. And that really seems, and those people that you're recruiting now, even if you can't get it off the ground until January, you're inviting them to all those things like Chris Justice was talking about. You want to talk about getting them to buy in, have them come to a Christmas party where they feed, and give presents to, children who are needy, or ringing the bell for the Salvation Army. Those people will be tied to you from there. So even if you're not going to induct them now, I would bring them into the fold, get them ready to go, get them serving. And then even if you have to do that, but if they're saying, man, we're too busy right now and get planning for this, then right now we can at least prep for it, and we get you done in the first week in January. So I can't stress it enough. If you got anybody that, and by judging on that sheet, it says that we're all working a bunch of clubs. So if you've got anybody, grab your person, grab Ken and Al and Mike and Renee. And you can grab Sean. It would be, a little strange, but you could grab them. And we will help you do the first one. We'll help you do the second one. But that first one is just, we'll help you with it. Just get me one person, one club on your sheet that's willing to at least talk to somebody. get them in front of your person.
Right on. Patrick
Marge
Eakes,
asked a question.
anything you want to share with us before we do a little housekeeping?
Yeah, I'll be brief because I know we're we're almost at the end of the hour. The energy, the ideas on this call, this is how it happens. This is incredible. You guys recharge my batteries every time I come on this call, and I've been away for a couple of months for a board meeting and for RI membership meetings. I think those are valid excuses, but this is the group that can put us into the black this year.
Yep.
And yes, that's talking about numbers, but what it's really talking about is more lives improved, more fellowship, more support of the Rotary Foundation, more opportunities to grow as leaders. It's all the good stuff in Rotary that happens when we're ascending in membership instead of descending. We are number 1 and 2 in North America on raw numbers right now. We're actually number 2 and 3 in North America when it comes to percentage gain. We have an opportunity, particularly with this group, which is where we grab chunks of 8 and 12 and 20 members at a time. We have the opportunity, no doubt about it, to be in the black at the end of the year. So take this momentum, take it into the last 45 days of this calendar year, and let's be ready to roar going into January, February, when we can form some clubs.
Jose, you got your hand up real quick?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to quickly follow up on that Grow Rotary. As I mentioned, it is updated annually for the club member and club details. It actually happens twice a year, right after the annual invoices. So in those 2 time periods, you'll see that update. The census data and demographics is updated consistent with the U.S. Census Bureau, which conducts so on every 10 years. The most recent was in the 2020. So I believe that was July of 2020. So that is the most recent you'll see for that census data. So when you utilize it, keep that in mind.
Right on. Thank you for that. So let me make one point as we get the screen up here. If you have a question, if you have a need, if you've got a hurdle that you're not quite sure how to jump over, please don't feel like you have to wait for the next month's call. That's what that team is there for. Every person on this call comes from a district who's got somebody that's on Amber Alert 24/7, ready to help you with your issue. Don't feel like you have to wait till the first Tuesday of every month to say, oh, gee, what do I do with this? It's in place. All you have to do is take advantage of it. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for their contributions to tonight's call. And if you can see on the screen, somebody give me a thumbs up. Is it on there? These are some very important dates that you do not want to miss. 6 days from now, on the 18th, is the monthly DMC call. And again, I mentioned at the beginning of the call that because this event is a week later than usual, that means that the reporting deadline of the 20th is going to feel like it comes a week sooner. So please do not forget, as Patrick has impressed upon us more than once tonight, please have those in by the end of the day on the November the 20th, so that we can take a snapshot of that report, get it reset for the next month, get that stuff passed on to Patrick so that he can take it to the board and continue to be our biggest cheerleader for all the energy that we're spending on this. Following on that, speaking of Patrick, we're going to have our next Zoom formation on Monday, December the 2nd, unless that has changed. Patrick, is that still a good date for that?
Yeah, we're on for the 2nd.
Absolutely.
And we'll be hearing from those who have been directly involved with disaster recovery. So it should be pretty cool report out.
Perfect. And then this call next month will be in 3 weeks from now, on back to the first Tuesday, December the 3rd at 5 o'clock. So with that said, I want to thank everybody again and bring to your attention that today is actually National French Dip Day. Not sure where you all stand on that.
One of my favorites.
Patrick Eakes, I know, just recently experienced the Secret Sandwich Society in Fayetteville, West Virginia. Speaking of sandwiches, according to Facebook, he had a very pleasant experience.
Man, that's good.
Hey, does anybody have a picture of Justice as Richard Simmons on Thursday? I was looking for it and I couldn't find it.
I think all those have been destroyed.
Come on, man, you got to share that with the group. We need to see that.
No, we don't.
No, really, we're good.
Everybody, thank you again. Keep
Sean,
fighting
Sean,
a good
before-
fight.
Hey,
Sean,
Sean,
before we
hang
go-
tight for a sec.
Yep,
Before-
absolutely. Go ahead, Chris.
Before we go, Patrick Eeks, if you wouldn't mind, you want to tell everybody where we are in fundraising?
Yeah, for the storm recovery, we are, as of this minute, just over $930,000 that has been physically collected. And we have been notified that the challenge grant from Shelter Box USA will hit our account tomorrow for an additional $100,000.
Over $1 million.
We will cross the $1 million mark tomorrow. We have already issued grants in excess of $150,000 to Georgia and Western North Carolina. Those are going out to districts and then to clubs to do projects where Rotarians are going to be putting their hands to work. So I am just thrilled at the response and at our ability to support our brothers and sisters in the affected areas.
That's fantastic.
Thank you, Patrick, for all you did on that, man.
Yeah.
For somebody here in Western North Carolina,
Absolutely.
that's incredible, man.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't inspire you to want to go out and start new clubs and get more people engaged and involved in what we do.
Couldn't have said
Patrick,
it better.
you got the call in San Diego, and by the time you touched down, you were hitting the ground running, right?
Between boarding the plane and landing 4 hours, several people, including Chris Jones, had our website updated, had opened the credit card portal, the merchant services, the whole bit, and we got our first donation that afternoon. It just,
That's
and that was on a Saturday, unannounced, completely unannounced. I just texted people and said, "Can you make this happen?" Pretty.
Well, y'all
great.
made a difference,
Yep.
man, and we appreciate it down here.
Yep, folks, that's why we're doing what we're doing. Carry that torch brightly, keep banging that drum. I'll see you all in 3 weeks. Thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedules to be part of this. We're all the right people doing it for all the right reasons. Let's keep it up.
Yes, sir.
And thanks for leading the efforts, John.